right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the morning show here on Stock Market TV. Good morning, chat. Good morning, Che. Grumpy Trade. Good to see you, Chris, James, Mary. What's going on, everybody? A lot going on today. Crypto, funny money. Who said that in the chat? Chris? Yeah, funny money. Doing some funny stuff. We'll talk Apple. That's top of mind. Very interesting insider buy. Would you call it an insider buy? We'll just say Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi did some buying. We'll talk about that. A couple of transactions there last week. That'll be great for the hot corner. Mike Hurley is today's guest. He is a fan favorite. He's a JC. He's all of our favorites, frankly. So he'll be on at 9. Very excited for that. So that's the day. You know what to do. Hit that thumbs up for me, please. Let's bring on Mr. Parets.
Hey now, what's up, Mr. Spencer Israel?
What is going on? What's going on? What's going on?
Do we miss Steve Strazza, or does he miss us?
No, of course we miss Steve. What kind of this? Yeah, the more the merrier.
Good. Steve's supposed to be on vacation. He was in the Slack yesterday, pinging us charts during the show.
Yeah.
He can't help himself. I like it. I like it. I like it. Well, I just gotta say, I was just cracking up last night because we were talking about my neighbor. My neighbor knows who I am and found me on the Twitter and started.
He's your neighbor. I hope he knows who you are.
Yeah, but I don't talk about like work and stuff like that. Like, I like to talk about sports and wine and stuff. Oh, Spencer's glitching. All right, so I guess it's just the JC show. Yeah, Spencer, you've been glitching. Are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't talk about this stuff. So, seeing, my neighbor. So then he tells me that he spent $800 on this like doomer kit where you have 3 months of food, right? And I started thinking about it, and I don't know. I think I might get it. Like, if I didn't have kids or anything, I'm not going to do it. So $800. He sent me the website yesterday. You think I should do it?
I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but yesterday we were talking about this yesterday, and then middle of the day I saw like a food, like an emergency food kit you can buy at Costco that you like keep in your garage or whatever for like emergencies. I don't know what's in it, but it's like a several days or weeks supply of emergency food that you can buy. I don't know if it's what your neighbor bought, but
you could buy a month's worth, 3 months worth, $800. I have 3 kids, so I'm gonna find out like how much room. I never thought I would be one of these.
Is it the worst idea? Is it the worst idea? No, it is not the worst idea. Screw it, do it. Why not? Right? Why not?
He says it lasts 25 years.
Whoa!
And he says the mac and cheese is supposed to be really good.
You're not supposed to eat it now.
Well, that's what he said. He's like, we're never going to find out. And I said, well, after 20 years, why don't we eat it? And like celebrate the fact that, we didn't have to use it.
Yeah.
We're going to have like a doomer bunker party.
Yeah.
It's like one of these like freedom, like Republican, like websites, like, like that's who they're like targeting, I guess. You could see it like in the marketing. I'm fascinated by this, and I've actually been thinking about it. Can you imagine? I spent $800. I mean, I've spent worse money, I suppose. I spent about that at sushi last week. So, if I don't do that, am I being a responsible father? Anybody in the chat? Anybody else do that? Patriot Supply. That's it. That's the one. Frank knows. Yeah, Patriot Supply. That's it.
$800, you say?
It's like $795 or something. Yeah, $800. You don't have kids, so you don't have to worry about that yet. But
you're right. But like, I lived through like Hurricane Sandy was a real disaster for, I don't know. I think you were in California for that, JC, but it was a real disaster for us. And my parents were definitely wishing they had one of these right about then. There
3
is no
months of
power.
food.
There,
And honestly, I don't know if it's
yeah.
like the pictures, but it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. All right. So anyway, that's what I've been laughing
All
at.
right.
Hit the bumper. Let's talk about the market.
All right.
All right. How do we not start with Bitcoin? Throw that up there. Throw the Bitcoin chart up there. Come on now. Look at that. New 52-week highs. Making a run for those all-time highs. Do we get there, Spencer? Do you think we get there?
Eventually, yeah, sure. Why
What
not?
do you mean eventually? Do we get there or not? Stop hedging your
Yeah,
bets.
yeah. We
How
do. We
soon do
do.
we get there, Spencer?
Oh, come on now.
I want the
This
date.
is,
How soon do we get there?
what do you want? The day, the week, the month, the
Do,
hour?
do you think we get there this quarter? Certainly looks like it, man. You going to bet against that?
Did we get it this quarter? The quarter ends in 4
We got a
weeks.
month.
So, um no, not this quarter. Next quarter for sure.
Also,
Next
I
quarter.
think that I'm in the camp that we get there. Whether it happens
Okay.
this quarter or next quarter or next
Yeah.
year, I think we get there. I think the weight of the evidence, the trend of the market, the probabilities are we get there. Now, the bigger question, in my opinion, is not whether we get there. It's what does it look like when we get there? Do we consolidate sideways? Do we rip right through it like it's like that former resistance is not even there? Do we kiss it and reverse? What does that look like? That's sort of and this is one of those things where, a lot of people ask me about the charts and stuff like that. I like to put space like bars to the right of the price action. I don't like the price to being all up in the business of the y-axis. You know what I'm saying? I like the space. And the reason I like that space is because it allows us to perhaps visualize how the market might be behaving moving forward, right?
Wait, but don't you also care how it gets there?
Yes.
Like like Bitcoin can make a new all-time high next week. That would be a violent, some would
Yeah.
say less sustainable move than a slow, methodical, you know, move
Yeah,
higher
but
where
whether
maybe
but
we get
but
there
Spencer,
and
whether we get there fast or get there slow, I mean, I agree, but whether we get there fast or get there slow, I'm still interested in how it consolidates and how it behaves when it gets up there, right? Like I'm more
yeah.
interested in what that looks like than I am how we get there, right? I get you.
Okay.
I get you,
Okay.
but
I would just I like as a point of personal preference would rather it take longer and the market behave in a
well,
more
well,
quote unquote
for
normal
those
way.
of us who own Bitcoin, we'd rather it get there faster, Spencer.
Look, I own Bitcoin too. I own
See
Bitcoin
how
too,
this
but
works?
like I said, it could get there next week, and that would just be a violent move and create all sorts of FOMO and volatility and who I don't know. It's Bitcoin, so that's to be expected, I suppose. But um, I think you want to see a market if it's going to get back to new all time highs, get there in like a responsible manner, right?
We're
Not
talking
like
about funny money. Who's being responsible here, Spencer? Come on. Responsible. Get out of here. Let's why don't we look at the irresponsible here as Bitcoin Freudian slip as Apple makes new 3-month lows yesterday. Why don't you throw that one up? Now it's the Google. Throw the next one.
we got the apple here
We
somewhere.
got the Apple. Spencer, I'm old enough to remember when Apple used to be the most important company in the world. Do you remember that? I feel like it was just a few months ago.
What? All the way back last year?
That's what I'm saying. This was like a few months ago.
Yeah.
Apple was the most important stock in the world. Oh my God, Apple, 3-month
I
lows.
think every couple years Apple temporarily takes a backseat to somebody else and then we are all reminded, "Oh wait, it's Apple." Duh, right? It's still
I
Apple.
guess. I see Apple making new 3-month lows. So what your point is that Apple does matter. Apple is important. Is that right?
Yeah, I think if you can look at the Apple and say it's got nowhere in 6 months, and to me, that's an opportunity,
So you're
right?
buying new 3-month lows as the
I
cues are
maybe
at
wouldn't
all-time
I maybe
highs.
wouldn't well, like, it depends what you're buying it for. For an investment, like, for a long term, sure, absolutely, I'd buy Apple now. For a trade? No, of course not. I'm not gonna buy new 3-month lows. But if you're like one of these people that's got Apple in your forever portfolio, and
Oh,
you
is there anything
lament
more depressing than a forever portfolio? Like, what even is that?
or a retirement account, maybe be more
Forever
politically correct
portfolio,
for for
gross,
JC's
Spencer.
sake, or a retirement account, then yeah, you definitely want to take advantage of sideways periods like this.
Well, let's
Six,
put things into context here as the Nasdaq closed a new all-time highs last week, a few days ago, and Thursday, I believe, and Apple making new 3-month lows literally as we speak. Nasdaq futures this morning up a little bit, 18 basis points. S&P futures are flat. Dow futures are down 35 points. Bond futures up. The bonds have been very impressive over the last week and a half. I got to tell you, bonds hanging in there at least so far. I guess we'll see what happens. Rates, this stock market rallying based on lower rate expectations. I don't know. I'm seeing the opposite. I'm seeing higher rates, but bonds hanging in there over the last week. Very impressive. Silver up 50 basis points up to just under $23. Copper flat, gold flat, oil flat. Dollar mixed this morning. Dollar trading. And then the old funny money, Bitcoin up $2,500, pushing 57,000 US dollars. These are American dollars there, Spencer Israel. 57,000 for Bitcoin. Shout out to Bitcoin.
what about other Bitcoin, other crypto plays?
So Ethereum up almost 3% on the day, pushing 3,300. Shout out Ethereum. And Solana,
What about
while
wait?
diverging, right? So Ethereum, Bitcoin broke out, made new highs. Solana has not, but it's not rolling over either. So all eyes on Solana as you ready for this? Total crypto market cap pushing $2.1 trillion, Spencer Israel. $2.1 trillion. More than half of that is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is 1.1 trillion as we speak, 1.1 and change, and the rest of the cryptocurrency markets are about a trillion. So literally as we speak, 400 billion for Ethereum, 1.1 trillion for Bitcoin. Solana pushing 50 billion in market cap. Cardano still hanging in there, 22 billion. Avalanche 12 billion, and Spencer Israel's personal favorite, of course, the
Coinbase?
old Dogecoin, pushing
Oh,
$14 billion. Spencer is 14 billion.
I thought Coinbase was my favorite. Coinbase is looking juicy,
Well,
JC.
Coinbase is an exchange. It is not a cryptocurrency.
I'm
But
aware.
to your point, as we've been saying, and I'm not disagreeing, maybe MicroStrategies is a bet on Bitcoin. Coinbase is a bet on cryptocurrencies. That still makes sense to me. Um, can we why don't you drop the link? Are you excited about Thursday? I'm stoked about Thursday.
Oh, we should talk about
Yeah,
Thursday.
why don't we talk about Thursday?
Probably.
What's happening? Why am I so
Let's talk about
excited?
Thursday. Thursday. I don't know what y'all people are doing at 2 p.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. Pacific time. But what we'll be doing is our crypto breakthrough event, a special live event with JC and mysterious guest to be named, to be revealed later. Where we're gonna rip through, like, we basically behind the scenes, the guys have been compiling all these new data sources for analyzing crypto, and finding trade ideas. And we're going to unveil those data sources. We're going to unveil our new research this Thursday at 2 p.m. I'm going to throw the link on the screen. The link is already in the description on YouTube. If you like refresh your page, and then scroll down to the description, you'll see it there. I'm going to pop it up on the screen right now. It's complete. There's a QR code, and I'll throw the actual caption as well, so you can actually see the link. There is the link, but if you want to scan the QR code, there it is. The link is down there on the bottom of the screen. Totally free event, right? It I suppose it costs you time, but what doesn't cost time, right? So Thursday, 2 p.m. JC mystery guest ripping through our new crypto research. It's going to be a
You know what I
freaking
like
blast.
about this, Spencer? You know what I
Yeah.
love about this is that I would kill to be able to have access to this kind of data and transparency in traditional finance markets. Like, could you imagine, like, we have to like trust auditors and like sell side analysts and like, oh, traditional finance is so like antiquated. Like, there are humans involved that like there's trust issues and they're wrong all the time and they're lying all the time. Like, in cryptocurrencies, we don't have to worry about any of that stuff. There's full transparency on the blockchain. You have all the data. There are no humans involved. It is fantastic. What I would give to have this kind of data and transparency in traditional finance. And you know what else is cool? Is like old school TradFi indicators are now back. Like back in the day, like Merrill Lynch in the 1960s discovered like the odd lot traders, where certain transactions that were just like weird lots, like 16 shares, 18 shares, those were typically evidence of retail investors, the dumb money, if you will. But then come the decimalization of equities back in the late 90s, we lost that data completely. So what used to be a great indicator for equities, the odd lots, we lost. And now in cryptocurrencies, we have that again, right? We can literally in real time follow what would be the equivalent of Paul Tudor Jones or Stephen Cohen or Warren Buffett, and actually see their transactions in real time. Like, we have that. Like, you don't have to wait like for a 13F where it's like 45 days later at best, or even some of these insider transactions. I know Pelosi was YOLOing some Palo Alto, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but even that's not in real time. It's pretty quick because she's a senator or whatever it is she is. But in cryptocurrencies, you see it in real time. I absolutely love that. So anyway, that's what I'm so excited about.
Yep. Anyway,
join me on Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern time.
Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. Pacific. QR code on the screen. Link in the chat. Link also in the description. Completely free, and you will not regret it. I promise.
I'm stoked for Thursday. But anyway, back to TradFi. Can we throw up this equally weighted NASDAQ chart? We got Mike Hurley on the show in a few minutes. Very excited for Mike Hurley. He is a host favorite, right? Strazza's got a man crush on Hurley, for sure. I'm not going to say I don't. Big fan of Mike Hurley, so stoked about that. But can we talk about this, please? So here we're looking at the equally weighted NASDAQ 100. So this is, kind of eliminates the Mag 7. As do they still call it that? I don't think so. Whatever.
No,
they used to call these
the
things.
Mag 1. JC, it's the Mag 1 now.
It's the Mag 1 now. All right. It's like a big middle finger from that one.
That's right.
So they used to call it, like, there used to be this thing, like sell side analysts and like TV, like cartoons characters would call like the Mag 7 or whatever, where there was like 7 stocks that I guess like, if you do like some weird reverse engineering of math, like, gave you a large percentage of the returns last year or something stupid like that. It was dumb all along. Anyway, so the equally weighted NASDAQ 100 eliminates all that nonsense, right? And just looks at all 100 of the NASDAQ 100 on an equally weighted basis. And we're now back to those former highs. So when I see charts like this, I want to think about what other stocks and ETFs and indexes that look exactly like this, what they're doing, right? So this is just one example. So this is Google, kind of a big deal. Closed yesterday at the lowest levels since the first week in January. Do you think that if Google continues to roll over, that the equally weighted NASDAQ 100 is going to break out above those highs anyway? Do you think that's what's going to happen, Spencer?
It could. I mean, why?
That's right. That's right. It could. Now, do you think it will? Do you think it will?
I mean, based on this chart you're showing, am I here? Yeah, I'm here. Based on this chart you're showing, they seem pretty. These markets seem pretty correlated, right? So
yeah.
So I guess the bias would be slightly to the downside, but I don't know what the.
You want me to tell you a story? I'm going to tell you a story, Spencer.
I don't know what these charts show before 2019, right?
Short story. I'll tell you. Funny you should ask, because when I pulled up this chart last night and I was looking, I was like, wow, look at Google, man. Google got slammed yesterday. Closed at new lowest level since the first week in January. And I pulled up the double chart and they were like in sync and they were the same color. and they were zoomed out like 5 or 6 years. They were so in sync, I couldn't tell you which one was which. I had actually had to like Optima, which is a charting software that we use, allows you to kind of like look behind the scenes at the code. I had to look behind the scenes to see which one was which one was the NASDAQ 100 equally weighted index and which one was Google. That's how closely they were moving together over the last 4 or 5 years. So to answer your question, what does it look like before 2019? It looks just like this. So that's just a good question. I don't have the answer. Obviously, my crystal ball's in the shop. People think I'm supposed to have the answer. Somebody this morning called me an influencer. Can you believe that shit? I take that personally. That's like an insult, right?
That would be an insult for you, yes.
I was called an influencer. Can you believe that shit?
The implication that people are, responsible for influencing price action, right? That would definitely be an insult to you. I could see that. Do you want to know why in quotes Google had the day it did yesterday? I can give you a reason that the media is giving. I don't know if you care.
Well, I can count, and I see more sellers than buyers at those prices. Is that not right? Is that not what happened?
Yeah, sure, yeah, that works too. Something to do with their AI thing got
lack thereof
like delayed, something like that. So yeah, what, Gemini? Is that what it's called?
I feel like whenever a stock is up, it's like, oh, it's because of AI. And then whenever the stock is down, oh yeah, because it's the AI. Right? Like, is it like whenever in doubt, just go with AI? Like, is that what they teach like in journalism school? Like sensationalism 101. When you're not sure,
no,
just make it up.
But it's human nature to want to find a reason. Totally.
Are you saying that humans are dumb?
No, you are. I'm
dumb? I'm pretty dumb.
No. No, you're saying that. I don't think it's wrong.
I have 112 IQ.
I don't think
Roman
it's
says
wrong.
That's bullshit. He says IQ tests are bullshit.
I don't think it's wrong to want to look for a reason. Sometimes there is a reason. Sometimes there's a very good reason, right? The market went down 2 weeks ago.
How about simply last time Google was up at this price in late 21, early 22, the price fell. So we know there are more sellers than buyers at this price. We are now back at this level and the same thing's happening.
Yeah.
Maybe there's just more sellers than buyers at this price.
Yeah, sometimes there's a good reason. Sometimes there is just a reason that is prescribed, right? Yesterday is probably the latter. But sometimes, I mean, stocks go up on down on earnings. Those are good reasons, right?
Throw up Berkshire yesterday, BRKB. This to me is like another index.
Yes.
And this is also the largest component of the financials index.
By the way, right? wicked reversal yesterday. Not that.
Are you from Massachusetts now?
No.
Wicked hot, dude.
Yeah.
So reached that 161.8% extension and immediately reversed. For you Fibonacci aficionados, this should not be any kind of surprise. I will also say that the XLF, which you highlighted last week, which is the financials index, also now getting back to those former highs from late 21, kind of like what Google's doing. And now monster reversal from Berkshire Hathaway yesterday at those extension levels as financials are hitting our targets. I mean, I think a lot of this makes sense. I'm just not a fan of buying stocks that are hitting our targets and are hitting former levels of resistance. Like, that's just tough living, man. That's tough living. It's not for me.
I am not from Massachusetts, but isn't Berkshire Hathaway originally from Massachusetts? I think so.
Like the original shitty textiles company that Warren Buffett is the worst investment he's ever made?
Yeah, that one.
I've seen the math. Like if Warren Buffett had not bought Berkshire Hathaway, he would be worth twice as much. His net worth would be double what it is today or something ridiculous.
Yeah, something ridiculous like that.
Isn't that insane? Isn't that hilarious, first of all? But it was a good lesson. It was a good lesson. And that heartfelt note about Charlie Munger kind of alluded to, some of that help that Charlie Munger had, making sure he didn't make dumb investments anymore. Because Berkshire Hathaway, if you read the story, something like he just bought it because just to spite the CEO, kind of to it was like a vengeful investment, and that's no good. That's no good.
Yep. That's more or less what happened. All right, 8:56. We're gonna have Mike Hurley on in a second. Let's talk about what was on my list here. You wanted to no, let's see the hot corner for after, because that's very interesting. And it'll probably take some time to get into. Let's do a couple quick just headlines or earnings here. JC.
Hit it.
We have Lowe's. Oh, I'll run the bumper. Sure, why the heck not? All right, we have there's our calendar here, for at least through the end of the month. We have Lowe's beating on the top and the bottom line this morning, and their revenue guidance for the year came in a little bit light. Their EPS guidance for the year also came in light. So good backward-looking numbers, not so good forward-looking numbers. Stock is down, but not a lot more. I mean, yeah, it's down a little bit here in the pre-market session, but not enough to raise alarm bells or anything. So, no, doesn't interest you?
No, not at all. Should it?
I don't know.
Kind of in this range.
It doesn't really interest me either. yeah. That chart is not the most interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of in this range. You know, consumer discretionaries in general, like this, have been underperforming. Consumer staples, good call out yesterday, Spencer. Consumer staples, best performing sector last week.
Yeah, that's what happens when you pay attention. Okay, let's move on here. What?
No, I like it. Spencer's paying attention. I like it.
Yeah, all right. Zoom, let's do Zoom. Is Zoom gonna catch up to some of these other pandemic darlings one of these days? It's trying to this morning. They had a good quarter. Their EPS beat, their sales beat. They're doing a $1.5 billion buyback. They gave guidance that was above estimates, and we are up this morning. So
8%. You don't think this is a zero, Spencer?
I don't. Well, no. The fact that it's stopped going down, right, should tell you something.
It stopped going down, but it hasn't started going up.
Okay. But it stopped going down a long time ago.
It stopped going down last year. And we don't know that it stopped going down. Maybe it just stopped going down for now.
Yeah, all right.
John Wick saying he misses Strazza. He says the show's off balance without Strazza.
Hey, Strazza will be back.
Strazza will be back on Monday. Yeah, we don't have anybody to call me out. Call me out on my bullshit. Right?
No, not in the way he does.
We need that. We all need that. Everybody around needs somebody to call out JC on his bullshit. Somebody needs to. Right? Maybe Mike Hurley will call me out. We'll see what happens.
Anyway, Zoom interests me only because it hasn't participated in the rally that so many of these pandemic darlings that got crushed in 22 have, like DraftKings and Uber. And Zoom has not played ball. Is it going to start playing ball? That's my question. I don't know the answer.
What do they even do? It's just like the video thing. They don't even have anything else.
I'm sure they probably have. I think they have some AI stuff going on. Who doesn't? But I mean, we use Zoom. But yeah, it's just the video conferencing. But if they're gonna come back and make new all-time highs, it's gonna be on the back of something else, right? It's not gonna be the video conferencing. It's gonna be something else.
Market zero, Smokey. Market zero.
Wow, that's aggressive. All right. I mean, look, maybe you're right. Maybe this is zero. Maybe it just never gets. Maybe it stops going down, but maybe it never gets back to those all-time highs of 650 or whatever, right?
I'm gonna take the under on that. I'm gonna say it's probably not gonna go up 10 times from here to get back to those former highs.
Probably
Call
not.
Me crazy. I don't know.
Probably not.
I'll take the under. I'll take the
probably
under.
Not.
Yeah, I think zero comes first.
All right, we'll see.
Yep.
Hey, should we bring on Mr. Hurley?
Can we please? Can we?
We most certainly can.
Do it.
Yo,
Jay, we've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
I mean, this is pretty professional, guys.
Nice show you got going here.
Mr. Hurley.
Gentlemen, good morning. How are you?
What is up, my man?
JC, it's great to see you, and you as well, Spencer.
Likewise.
Mike,
Hey,
you
where's
joining
Strazza?
us? Are you joining us in Sonoma in May or what?
I hope so. I still haven't had that email hit my inbox yet.
Spencer, can you send them the details?
Yes, I will send you the details.
Where's Steve?
Steve's taking a well-deserved break from all of us. He'll be back on Monday.
Oh man, I gotta go then.
Steve has a man crush on you, Hurley. No,
Well, I have one on him, so I don't know if I can even do this today.
the bromance is out of control. No, last week out we were all together in New York. So he was spending time with his family. It was his mom's birthday, I think. Like, so he's got, it's we don't live to work. We work to live. Mike, is that how it is?
I think that's the way it's supposed to go, and some of us are better at it than others.
It's true. But you want to know something? I talk to Phil Perlman about this all the time. He's like our uncle, all of us. And even if I'm on vacation, I'm still checking what the futures are doing. I'm still checking how the market closed. It's 6:00 on Sunday. How did futures open? Like,
Exactly.
I enjoy that. Like, I don't want to not do that because I'm on vacation. Like, it's something I enjoy doing. I want to see what the score of the game is. What's the difference?
Exactly. It's who you are, and it helps you turn the page. And that's why we all do this. It's the best job in the world. It's not a job. It's fun.
It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle.
It is.
All right.
The markets are life.
So speaking of lifestyles, we got, for all intents and purposes, last week Dow, S&P, NASDAQ making new all-time highs. In my experience, you tell me, you got a couple more years on me. In my experience, new all-time highs are not evidence of downtrends. You don't see a lot of new all-time highs and downtrends. Is that true? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good guideline. Not a rule, but a guideline.
Good guideline. Good guide. Not a lot of new all-time highs and downtrends, for sure. Something that's got my attention, I want to talk about bellwethers. How much weight do you put on bellwethers in general? Forget that Apple's making new 3-month lows. Just generally speaking, market bellwethers, when you talk about market breadth, when you talk about kind of just weight of the evidence, how do you use these things? The JP Morgans, the Apples, the Microsofts. What do you think about them?
That's a great question, JC. And it's changed over the years. And I think it's important for guys like you and I to see what's working and know the tone of the market and know the lay of the land. And so the generals, as we used to call them, or the bellwethers, used to be much more important to me. And once
neither one of those generals are bellwethers anymore, though, right?
Exactly. But you've got a situation where people have really gotten nervous over the FANGs having such a high weight, or the FANG magmas, whatever we want to call them. But I started doing some, I won't say research, I'd say some introspection on it late last year and early this year. And I started asking myself, why is that a bad thing? And maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay that they're so large because they make so much money. And I started making comparisons. Microsoft and Google and Apple are all bigger than the FTSE and the Russell. Well, okay. Well, if you can analyze the Russell in one stock and it's in healthy shape, that's a pretty good chunk of the market, right? So as long as those 6 stocks are in relative uptrends and healthy, I don't know that it's such a bad thing. Now, maybe when they do start forming tops and rolling over, it's a problem, as they did in 22. But I just don't think concentration for the sake of concentration is necessarily a death sentence for the market.
Right. That's right. Why do you think that scares people so much? Does it remind them of maybe some other, maybe quote unquote bubble tops?
Yeah.
Like in the late 90s, what was it that egregious?
It was. We used to call them the 4 horsemen back then. And that's when I was publishing with Katie at E-Offering. And I remember we did one piece. We used to write daily and then also do the weekly market review. We did a piece one day called, "Hey, the 4 horsemen are dead." And it was right when like Cisco broke support at 60 and put in a little top or big top.
What were the 4 horsemen back then?
I'm trying to remember. I know 3 of them at least: Cisco, Microsoft, WorldCom, and what was the other one? There was one more: Microsoft, Cisco, Cisco, Microsoft.
It wasn't GameStop, not GameStop.
No. WorldCom, Cisco, Microsoft. I can't remember the fourth one. It wasn't Apple, though, I don't think.
Wasn't Apple or Amazon.
Nope, they weren't around yet.
It was Dell.
Dell.
Wow.
Spencer, you're awesome.
And then so after that, then you had the bricks. That was the next one, right? That was like the next big thing. And then you had and then after the bricks, it was the Fang.
I think that's when we got into Fangs.
Yeah, and then the Mag 7, and then what's the next one?
Yeah, I wonder. And I love that chart of Zoom that you had on earlier, and it reminded me of a story back then. I love Ron Insan. I think he's one of the best underrated market analysts in the world, and he's an incredible market historian. He and Ralph are two really good historians. And back in those days, before the bubble in the 90s, we had the brokerage stocks take off, Schwab, E-Trade. Then it turned into Yahoo and all the internet stocks. And Ron had a great piece on his message of the market. It was right at the closing bell one day, and I remember it to this day. He talked about the fiber optic stocks, and he said, fiber optics are going to change the world. We're going to go from AOL, dial up at 56K baud to some internet speeds that are really going to change our lives and allow us to do some really interesting work, like shows like this. He said, but the stocks have gotten ahead of themselves. And when a stock like Zoom or the fiber optic stocks, or think about the solar stocks, maybe in 13, they get ahead of themselves. They usually blow up and take a generation for the businesses to catch up. And the comparison he made was brilliant. It was RCA. That was a bellwether stock in the 50s and 60s when TVs went from black and white to color. It was going to change all of our lives. And it did. Color TV was way better than black and white, and TV was better than radio. But the stock of RCA peaked and didn't see a peak again, a new high for 30 years, kind of like the Nikkei just last year. It took 30 years.
Mike, why don't you tell us what was it like trading RCA those times?
Not quite that old, but close.
Before your time.
Only about 2 extra years on you.
Nice. Okay, so why don't we talk about last week? Why was last week so important, or was it not important? What is it?
I would say it was not important. I think you're in the middle innings of a bull market here. Oh, and thank you for showing that piece. That's from my weekly recording that lasts about 2 minutes. I call it the Market Minute. So you are seeing a little bit of divergences here in the market. JC, as you can see, we are going up to new highs, but with a little bit of weakening leadership. Normally that type of divergence would be a sign of a narrowing market. But then when you look behind the scenes at the charts on the right, look at the small caps and the mid caps.
Yeah.
The small caps have broken out and tested that breakout successfully. At least it looks like it has. And they're not
biotech's leading that, right? Biotech's leading that.
I think so. And I think there's some nice sectors out there. So that's why I'm calling this little bit of divergence, maybe a broadening. I do think we could pause here for a lot of reasons and roll over a little bit. If you go to the second page on that brief, I may have put in an indicator, which is, yes, if you look at the right-hand side at the weekly chart of the S&P 500, just under it is how far the market is trading above its 200-day average or 40-week average, that blue line. And so we're overbought to the same degree we were last July when the market corrected. So I could see the market correcting over the short term, forming some sort of trading range, pausing for a month or two before having a strong second half. But in general, I think you're in a middle innings of a bull market and maybe setting up for a correction.
I'd love to hear your thoughts about the thrusts that we saw in December. For all intents and purposes, we had more stocks going up, more stocks making new highs that we had seen in years, right? Everybody had a thrust. The Whaley, the Zweig, the Strazza thrust, the Hurley, everybody's thrust went off, right? Great. Literally, I mean, not literally, but basically every stock was going up. So mathematically, you can't have more stocks going up if all the stocks are already going up, right? So just mathematically, you had to see fewer stocks making new highs over the coming months, right? Which obviously we've seen. Can you touch on that? Like, how do you think about it? Because right, that's basically, you can't have more stocks going up if all of them are going up.
Right. No, that's true, and that's an important point for a very, very significant reason, and that's why I have the fall day. I think you threw me the softball there on how fall days work. You can find divergences in the markets throughout almost the entirety of a bull cycle. If you look at when internals peak, it's well before the ultimate peak in price, and that's important. So that's why I like to look before I call a top for some actual damage in the market. Now, that being said, every market cycle is a little bit different. And while we did have some good thrusts in that fourth quarter of 22, this bull market was stubbornly, it was stubborn in getting going. The first year, the market internals were not as strong as we'd like to see them. In fact, if you look at that chart on the right, the bottom pane, you can see new 52-week highs and lows were above and below that zero line through the first half of 23. That's pretty weak. So the unique fingerprint of this market cycle is that market internals after that thrust were pretty disappointing. And a lot of guys, even me at times, were a little bit worried about the market, whether we're going to get a good bull or a weak bull or what. But the second year, from October of 23 on, you're starting to see internals kick in again. And I think this market now really is starting to get some legs.
I think you said it last year at some point, and it really stuck with me that, just because it's not the strongest bull market ever, doesn't mean it's a bear market, right?
Right. It's like your point earlier. If they're making new highs, they're going up.
Right. And also, as far as like breadth expansion in year 2 of a bull market, there's precedent for that, right? Then you see that in 92, then you see that in 89. You've seen that in the past. You don't need to get just monster breadth right off the bat, right? It could take some time.
Boy, it sounds like you've done a little more research on that one than I have, JC. And I'm gonna have to go back and check those notes. I believe you absolutely, because it's what we're seeing now. I just didn't know there was a correlation.
You got breadth expansion. You had Michael Jordan dunking over all these Europeans and the dream team. Like, I remember like it was yesterday, Mike. I was 10 years old seeing that breadth expansion.
No, but I believe it. And that's been the fingerprint of this cycle is, it really kind of, tested your confidence as you were battling back and forth across that 200-day through the first half of 23. I mean, it was like, man, is this really a bear market rally, or is this going to, start moving higher or not? And finally, when we got through that 4,200 area, I felt a little more confident, but it gave you a good gut check coming down to 4,200 last October too. So
yeah, but you want to know something, Mike? You had sector rotation all along, and I want you to touch on this, but I can't have a real conversation about market breadth without talking about sector rotation. And in the back half of 2022, literally everything was working except for mega cap tech and mega cap growth, right? Everything else was already working in the back half of the year. The new lows list peaked in June of 2022. And then what happened at the beginning of 23? You got that rotation into the mega cap tech, into those growth stocks. Best first 6 months for the NASDAQ of all time. And then you started to see some of the other areas start struggling, things like industrials and some of these cyclicals. And what happened? Then you got rotation into those industrials and the cyclicals. And then, come October, it's like, well, the small caps aren't working and the banks aren't working. And then what happened? Then you get rotation into there. So the rotation continued to come in. So while the breadth wasn't quote unquote the strongest ever, you kept seeing sector rotation. When they needed to step in and buy a group, they came in and bought the group. And we've continued to see that. Now the question
you haven't really seen anything break down and get ugly, as Ari Wald calls one of the culprits. Nothing's really trying to pull this thing down. And that's why I think you can make a lot of good case for a correction right now or consolidation. But even if you get it, this is not a broken market. This is the fourth inning of the game.
I couldn't agree more. We've been in a bull market, in my opinion, like pushing 20 months, probably. If you go back to the peak in the new lows in the summer of 22, a lot of stocks started really working in the back half of 22. I mean, call it whatever you want, but yeah, somewhere in the middle of a bull market, certainly not near the beginning, I don't think near the end either. I think any correction that we get comes within the context of an ongoing bull market. No question.
I agree entirely. In fact, we have our shotgun chart, and I should have brought it today. I apologize. But if you put your finger on the little green arrow where the market started in October, and then you put it on where the target is of a bull market 3 years later, you can see we're right in here. It's just, you're in the middle.
Let's talk about the lack of new lows, right? So one thing I love about math, Mike, is that mathematically, you cannot have a market correction of any kind without stocks falling in price. Like, that's just math. Like, you could be bullish and think the market's going higher. You can be bearish and think the market's going lower. You could be neutral and sideways. It doesn't matter who you are. We'll all agree you can't have a market correction without the prices of stocks falling, period. And you, and you haven't seen it.
No, and sometimes these turning points that you and I like to watch for, which is why I'm glad you showed that market minute of ours, is you see them stop going up first before they start falling into a correction. And maybe this little divergence in leadership we're starting to form is starting to mark at the top of a trading range. Now, again, I think that's a little more aggressive call than I want to make. I'm not so convinced you're at the top of a trading range for sure yet. You're in the ballpark. And again, how far you're stretched above the 200-day moving average or the 40-week, whichever you call it, you're starting to be in that area where you might want to watch for stocks running out of gas. But they run out of gas first, and then they'll start seeing a little bit more sideways action. But even in that sideways action, JC, you're right. Those aren't 52-week lows.
No,
those aren't.
Or 10-day lows, or 21-day lows, or 30-day lows. You're not seeing any of them.
Yeah.
So here's a good one. So one of the arguments is like, well, all right, because tech's been rolling over, particularly on a relative basis, large caps and small caps. You're totally seeing it. Apple making new 3-month lows. Google got the crap kicked out of it yesterday. Lowest close since the first week of January. Fine. The bullish argument is that you're getting sector rotation, right? Other sectors will take over leadership. And certainly in industrials, seeing new highs all over Europe. That's obviously not led by technology. A lot of strength in healthcare.
Right,
and
very different index.
There, for sure. Here in the United States, if you got 30% of the S&P is technology, you got 50% of the S&P, 50% of the NASDAQ is technology. If you lose technology and you get rotation into some of these other areas that just don't have the weighting in these indexes that something like technology has, can other sectors take over that leadership and the indexes continue higher? I find that hard to believe.
Well, and maybe they don't push the indices higher overall, but maybe there's your trading range.
Right.
And think back to 94, if we're going to do market history, you had a bear market in 1994 where the S&P stayed in a 7% range, I believe, the entire year almost. But every sector rotated through and went down about 20. So that's
and then what happened in 95?
Yes, to the moon. So it was a bear market, and I call it the stealth bear market. But bringing this back to today, yeah, maybe technology's given up a little bit of relative leadership, but the XLV healthcare sector just broke out of a 3-year trading range. And you mentioned the biotechs earlier. Boy, that's an area that has been asleep for quite a while that I think is starting to wake up. And that looks like a durable long-term breakout.
And healthcare leadership, are those things, large cap healthcare leadership, are those the things that you see in strong bull markets?
That's a great question. I know you're trying to trick me on that one.
No, I'm asking. No tricks. No tricks. Do you find that a little defensive? Do you find it a little defensive, or is that okay?
I think in general, or typically, they are defensive. But again, you kind of got to know the lay of the land you're in. And while I try not to ask too many questions when I do see a breakout, they're also very political, the healthcare stocks. So maybe it's just a function of politics.
Really?
They can be. A lot of biotech is in there, a lot of pharma, a lot of things like that. You can see them react to political cycles. Now, maybe not as much as defense stocks, but they do have a component. So while most people consider them strictly defensive, I try and broaden that definition and say just because healthcare is strong doesn't mean it's bad for the market.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it's hilarious that during the Biden administration, coal stocks have been the biggest winners and the clean energy stocks got destroyed? Do you find that as funny as I do?
It's huge irony. And I guess the answer to that is like you and I always say, the stocks lead the news because, The clean energy stocks didn't go straight down. They rallied first. They just rallied in anticipation and they led the news. And then once you start looking at reality of what's going on, they've not continued to do well. You're exactly right. It is. It's a huge irony.
Hilarious. You got to love the market. I mean, come on. It's so good. It's so good.
Exactly. Where can you have a career where things like that happen? Not only is it funny, but it's one of the greatest challenges in the world to try and buy things when the news is the worst. You're like, oh my God, why would I own a coal stock when, the Democrats are going to shut that industry down? Everybody's going to be laid off. And guess what? That was absolutely the time to buy. That's one of the best nuggets of gold to find in the world.
Especially when they shut down the coal ETF. Remember that? Too good.
Yes.
Too good.
Yes. KOL, one of the best tickers ever.
I think I was the only one that used to look at it. I would look at it every week for years as it just continued lower. Nobody cared. I was the only one that cared. And then once everybody needed it, it was gone.
And one that we also have loved and hated over the years is all the uranium stuff, URA.
That's right.
And it's nice to see that actually not having a 1 month rally for a change.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's been a heartbreaker for a lot of folks.
That's exactly right. Mike, what's on your mind? I asked you a lot of questions. I always have a lot of questions. That's what's great about technical analysis, you see. It might not give you all the answers, but it certainly goes a long way in helping you ask the right questions. It's one of the...
Well, absolutely. And I do have some for you, if I may.
Sure.
One of the things I wanted to ask you and Steve about is sentiment indicators. Now, clearly, this is not the part of the market cycle where we're looking at VIX spikes or things like that. But that's an area where I think a lot of people do a lot of great research. And what are your rules for sentiment in the VIX, and how do you use it just in general, both tops, bottoms? You go anywhere you want on that, Jason.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of rules per se, more guidelines than anything else. Like you said before, like we've got some hard rules, like we don't sell naked calls. Like there are some rules that we definitely have, but for the most part, they're mostly guidelines. When it comes to sentiment, I think it's a lot more powerful at extreme bearishness than at extreme bullishness, right? When you study sentiment in the past, investors could stay optimistic for a while. Our good friend Willie Delwich likes to say, you need bulls to have a bull market, right? Like you need bulls buying stocks, like that really resonates with me. So I'm more interested in sentiment at washout levels to the downside, number one. Number two, when you look at newsletter writers, again, hilarious, right? Newsletter writers are the most bullish they've been in years currently, very optimistic, super extreme optimism from newsletter writers. This is published by II, Investors Intelligence, which I really like this because it goes back to the 1960s. This data goes back a long time. It's not like some YOLO indicator from last week or the CNN nonsense, right? Like this is this is old school. And the guy who invented
it's the industry, right?
The guy who invented it thought that it was going to be a good indicator, like, if all these newsletter writers are bullish, it's a great time to be buying stocks. As it turns out, it was the exact opposite. Kudos to the guy. I forget his name. Kudos to him. He discovered very quickly that this was actually a contrarian indicator. So anyway, in the summer of 22 and in the fall of 22, when we were buying stocks very aggressively, newsletter writers were telling you to sell stocks. Now, the newsletter writers are telling you to buy stocks. But it can stay up here for a while. So that in and of itself is not a sell indicator. And then I'll add one more, and then I want to hear your thoughts. What we like to do is take them all. Investors Intelligence, American Association of Individual Investors, the Active Investment Managers, and AAIM. We looked at the VIX, put call ratios. We add them all up and we put them together into a composite and kind of take a weight of the evidence when it comes to sentiment. And when you put it all up together, what they're saying and what they're doing, they could still get more optimistic. They're not like in general extremely optimistic. They're getting there, but they still have more room to run. So sentiment, Mike, as usual, in my opinion, is somewhere in the middle, right? That's what's hard about sentiment. It's really only really valuable at extremes. And by definition, extremes are not common. How do you do?
No, I agree with you entirely, particularly on Rule 1, JC. I only try and use it at bottoms. The VIX only speaks once every 4 years, and that's when I try and watch it. It's too hard any other time. One of the challenges I have, and I have a good friend who has the best system that I found for it, was, okay, when the VIX spikes, what's a VIX spike? it's not like a stochastic that's on a 0 to 100 scale.
Right.
VIX can go to 20 and it can go to 30. Okay, we can go to 40. We can go to 60. I think in the 2008 collapse, it went to 80.
Yep, I remember.
So how high is high? And I think all the sentiment indicators have that one flaw. So what he's done, he has gone back and looked at a lot of daily charts. And whenever the VIX breaks the lowest low over the last 3 days, the spike is over. And another one I've thrown on there is a 5-day simple moving average. And if the VIX breaks the 5-day simple moving average, the spike's probably done. Now, again, that's a real slippery slope because you're talking about grabbing that falling knife.
How are you calculating that 5-day moving average? Literally 5 days closed divided by 5, or are you looking intraday at 10-minute time frame?
5 closes.
5 closes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But the VIX spikes when the market, washes out, and you've got to have something to figure out where the spike is, because again, you can't use absolute levels because 20 can turn to 40, can turn to 60. But when is it done? And I like the rule of the lowest low of the last 3 days. When you finally break the low of the last 3 days, that spikes in. Now, that was my question for you, though, and I'm happy to share that system. But that's the only thing I found on those VIX spikes on how to catch them.
Mike, I love this. We're going to have you back, and you know what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about that bond ladder that we discussed over the phone a couple of weeks ago, if that's okay with you. I thought that was a
deal.
I thought that it was a fantastic conversation. We disagreed, right? Like, we agreed on a lot, but we disagreed on some of the semantics. So I just thought that was just kind of like a valuable discussion that nobody on earth got to listen to. So I would love to have that, and I would love Steve to be in here too, so he can weigh in and see what I feel like he's probably going to agree with you.
Well, please give him my best. I'm glad he's out and having a few days off, but it's always great seeing the two of you. And thanks for letting me tease you earlier on.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it, bro.
Mike.
The pleasure's mine, guys. See you soon.
Adios. Mike Hurley in the house. He's the man. Come on, give it up for Mike Hurley. Come on.
Someone in the chat goes, is there anything more old school than that glass background? It reminds me of the dentist's office. I don't know.
It's true. It's true. It is pretty old school.
Yeah.
Mike is a younger, he's not an old guy, but he's old school in a lot of his principles and stuff like that, which I truly appreciate. Old school in a good way. I consider myself old school. You think I'm old? You think I'm old school, Spencer, or no?
You can't love the Dow and not be at least a little bit old school. So
that's fair point.
Yeah,
fair point.
You by default, you are 40% old school, maybe.
40% old school. When I start getting into the cryptos and the NFTs and the on-chain analytics, that's not so old school. But when it comes to TradFi, I'm old school.
You are for sure. All right, let's talk about the hot corner here. We had a very interesting one today.
Hit it.
Hot corner. So hot right now.
All right. So what's Pelosi? What are the Pelosi's YOLOing now?
Palo Alto calls. That's right. 2 separate transactions. One before earnings. One after earnings. Thought that was interesting.
Adding to losing positions. The way I learned it, Spencer, from a one Paul Tudor Jones, is that only losers average down losers. Is that what the Pelosi's are currently doing? Is that what they did?
They bought 50 of the $200 calls in Palo Alto on the 12th and another 20 on the 21st.
I wonder what the implied volatility looked like. Do we have the expiration month? Do they have to disclose that or no?
Yep. January 17th of 2025.
January of 25. So there might have, I don't know what, I didn't see what implied volatility, because there's a give and take, the stock's getting destroyed, so volatility spikes, but also it's post earnings. So so I'm wondering if they ended up, I wonder what happened there. Interesting.
Yeah. So this is interesting only because every time we get trades like this, I think to myself, why the hell, how the hell do our Congress people have time for this? Surely there is more important things to be doing. But in any case, and
by the way, I don't really give a damn. A lot of people take this very personally. They're like, how are they allowed to trade? I don't know. I don't make the rules. but they are allowed to trade and they have to disclose it. And you can either use that information or not. We do. This is America.
Shoot, what was I about to say about that? No, I don't remember. Yeah. I don't look at this as like some great bullish or bearish indicator, but it is really good information. And then you're going to be seeing this headline all over your tweets, your X's, your timelines, your feeds, all over today. So it's probably not as big a deal as some people would make it out to be, but nonetheless, I find it very interesting. It is the most interesting thing, I think, in today's hot corner.
And it's a decent transaction, right? It's not a piker purchase. What is it? 600,000 to $1 million too?
Yeah, big size. Big size. Well,
how much are they worth? How much are the Pelosi's worth?
I don't know. Probably more than one and less than $100 million, somewhere in that range.
You think they're worth less than $100 million? My guess would have been more. I'm seeing, according to financialsamurai.com, who knows whether this is true or not? Good glory. They're worth over 100.
All right.
I actually have the chart of their net worth here, which is, I don't know how true this is.
All right. I stand corrected according to Financial Samurai.
According to Financial Samurai. I don't know. I'm looking here online. I don't know. My guess is over 100. OpenSecrets.com says, over 100. I don't know.
All right. Fine.
So is $1 million, let's call it 1% of their net worth in some options, is that really that big of a deal?
When you put it like that, no, but still $1 million for an individual. Not nothing.
Yeah. It's not nothing. It's not, to your point earlier, I don't know how bullish it is. It's not bearish. I don't know how bullish it is. Steve says the current value of the Pelosi calls is roughly $850,000. Strazza here enjoying his vacation, chiming in on the Slack channel, Steve. On the show. Thanks, Steve. Hey, what's going on, Steve? Give Strazza a big round of applause.
Yeah. Okay, not much else that really stood out to me in the hug. If you can bring the table back up there. What do we have here? We had a lot of small. I guess the big one was Allegiant, the president and CEO, $1.3 million.
That's not nothing.
No, that's not nothing. That was kind of the other big one out there.
This is Allegiant. What is Allegiant?
No, Allegiant.
This is a security and protection services company.
Yeah. I don't know what they do. I mean,
it's $11 billion industrial.
Yep.
Sounds like some kind of. It's not defense. It looks like one of those companies where they don't know what sector to stick it in, so they just throw it in the industrials. You know.
Yeah, industrials is the catch-all.
It's a catch-all. That's right.
For everything, right?
Yep. So this is Allegiant. Honestly, it doesn't look terrible. Do you have the chart up, or do you want me to throw mine?
No, I don't. ALLE.
Let me just throw this up. So this is this one just ALLE. Allegiant. So it's not that shitty airline. It's no. Is wondering. This is throw up slide 2 here. This is ALLE. So this is the president and CEO buying $1.3 million worth of this stock. It's not a piker purchase. Not a piker purchase. I don't know what this company's doing, but it looks like they're doing something right. Right?
Yeah. Again, I don't know anything beyond what industry group they're in, so no.
Security and protection services. They pay a 1.5% dividend. You know, I don't know if this is a young aristocrat or one of those, but it strikes me as one of those stocks that are just boring, grinding higher sort of things, right?
Yes. Boring. I would definitely agree with that. Because I don't even know what they do.
I just told you.
No, I know. But
security and protection.
I don't really know. I don't
what
really know.
What does that
mean? So
right, exactly.
No, but you just had me distracted because you mentioned Allegiant, the airline, so I was just going. I hadn't looked at the airlines in a while, so I was going through those right now.
What a shitty airline that Allegiant is. It's like one of those like Spirit things.
So, some of these airline charts, like some look terrible, but some don't look as bad, right? I mean, past couple months have been kind to Southwest and American and Delta for that matter. So I don't know. I don't look at the airlines hardly ever because I think they're just terrible investments. But for a trade,
Not always. They've had their moments, Spencer. They've had their moments. This just ain't one. This just ain't one. All right. Anything
Yeah.
else in the hot corner? Why don't you drop the link so people can sign up for the hot corner? This is a free email that I get every morning. It is one of my favorite emails, tied for first with the chart report. So the chart report comes in the afternoon, but this is the hot corner. It's going to give me all of the most important transactions from the prior day. We always complain on Mondays because there's rarely any filings on Fridays, but on Tuesdays you get a lot because I guess like these guys think about it over the weekend or something and make the filing on Monday, and we get the data, right? So I get it on every morning around 8 o'clock, 7:45, 8 o'clock or so. Great email. I mean, if you are interested in what the most important transactions for the prior day are.
All right, the link is down below. The link is on the in the description. Can't say anything better than that. Free, takes maybe 20 seconds to consume.
Yeah.
Maybe 30.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's great.
So it's quick.
All right. It is a quick. That's part of the reason I like it. It's just quick and dirty. Take a look. Anything interesting? Nah. Or sometimes, oh shit, Pelosi, YOLO in the Palo Alto. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Pelosi's husband at it again. She gets all the credit. It's the husband. Not her.
Right.
Well, you think it's her?
I have no idea.
No, it's the husband. It's just that when your spouse is YOLOing, you have to file.
Oh.
You didn't know that?
Maybe it's a financial advisor. I don't know.
No, it's her husband. Her husband's a junkie.
Oh, okay.
I'm telling you. I don't think it's her. I don't think she gives a shit. It's the husband. Yeah. So when people are like all up in arms, like Pelosi doesn't have time, it might not even be her. I don't think it is.
This is like a legal version of that BP guy. You heard about that, right? Over the week or last week. Actually, I heard about this a while ago. This woman worked at BP and was working from home because of COVID, and her husband overheard her work calls and made some trades, got busted for insider trading. She divorced him over it.
Oh my
God. And then he just got convicted, I think, last week. So
I think the good one, Anu Biscon says she hears he trades. That's probably right. Yeah, that's probably right.
Probably. All right, couple of headlines I wanted to get through. Some M&A stuff. This was rumored for a while, but the FTC is suing to block the Kroger Albertsons merger. So for those of you that
are they really that big where that matters?
The grocery store business in this country is very regionalized. Kroger is probably the most national grocery store that we have. But everywhere else in this country, you have local regional chains, right? There's your Midwest stores like Meijer. There's your East Coast stores like Acme and ShopRite, and Florida has Publix and
Stop and Shop out in the Northeast, out in Connecticut and Mass.
Yeah,
Shop and
so
Stop.
there really aren't these like national chains, and I guess that's the FTC's. I guess the FTC likes it that way, and this would create the largest, such as I don't know. Kroger
Do they have to how does that work? They appeal it now? It's like a whole thing.
No, the FTC is suing, so now they go to court, where the FTC has to basically prove that this would be anti-competitive. And if they win, then no deal, and if they lose, then deal.
Got it. All right. And there are traders that are like arbing this because they think they know, basically.
Right. Cool. Yeah. The grocery store M&A arbitrate is hot.
It's hot right now. So hot right now. All right. What else is going on?
KKR is acquiring a Broadcom's end user division for about $4 billion. And then Bloomberg reported yesterday that Charter Communications is sniffing around Altus. They want to acquire. So, one dying company acquiring another dying company, basically. And this is just rumors, but or reports, but they're sniffing around there. So oftentimes where there's smoke, there's fire. These reports don't get leaked by accident, in my experience. So anyway, that's what I got on the M&A front. Not a whole lot interesting, but if you're into M&A arbitrage or stuff. Oh, and then what I wanted to mention was Macy's. They had also Macy's is so off the radar that I didn't even realize they reported earnings this morning. So obviously they were quite bad, JC, and they are. This is what caught my eye. Not so much the earnings; it's that they're closing almost a third of their stores. 30% of their stores they're closing. So,
Well, it's probably a good thing because if their stores are losing money, I'm no fundamental guy, but if their stores are losing money and they close stores, then they're going to lose less money.
right.
Isn't that a good thing?
Yeah.
Is that how did I do there? How did I do with
No,
my fundamental
pretty
analysis?
good.
Pretty good, huh? Pretty
Pretty
good.
good. It's
God, so
not,
you're losing a fuck ton of money with all these stores. Close some stores and you'll lose less money. How about that, huh?
yeah,
Come on.
but you know, you were saying Zoom is a 0. Macy's gets there first.
Well, Zoom's a 0. I'm just shocked that Macy's still is not a 0. Like they're
I
all
know.
zeros, right? Like
I
who goes to Macy's?
Look,
Like where is there even a Macy's?
It's not look, it is not impossible to save a dying retail store. Best Buy did it, right? Best Buy was getting Amazon for like a decade. Amazon like killed them, and then all of a sudden Best Buy just turned it around somehow. Had an incredible few years. At the end of the last decade, 18, 19, 20. Not so much recently.
And then the stock got cut in half. So
yeah. But prior to that, it was looking all right. So, it's not impossible to turn these stores around, but it is difficult. So,
Best Buy, I mean, as great as it did, it lost 75% of its value, something like that.
yeah. Is Macy's the last of the anchor stores? Yeah, because Sears and JCPenney are gone. So Macy's is the last anchor store in the mall in my hometown. That sad place. I used to work there. Fun fact. Anyway.
Macy's in Dadeland. Wow, Bill knows. Is there a Macy's in Dadeland? I used to go to the one in the Falls. Is that still there? I used to live by there. Somebody here is from Miami and knows what's going on. Spencer, can we throw up the young aristocrats here? Slide 2. Speaking of slow and boring, fun fact, Spencer. I don't know if you know this, but NVIDIA used to be a young aristocrat. Did you know that?
I would certainly hope so.
Why would you hope so? You would have guessed that NVIDIA had raised their dividends every year for 10 straight years. I would not have guessed that.
They've been around for like quite a long time, right? 2000.
No, I know. They're not a young aristocrat anymore because I think they've raised their dividends. Strazza would know. I think like maybe 12 years in a row now, 11 years in a row. So they're not in that sweet spot. Yeah. So these are stocks. Yeah. These are stocks that have raised their dividends every year for between 5 and 9 consecutive years. So they've proven that they're not useless, because they've raised their dividends for at least 5 years in a row, but they're not dividend aristocrats where they've done it for 25 straight years and like you missed the boat. So that 5 to 9 is that sweet spot. And I'm no fundamental guy, but the way I look at it is if you have the ability to raise your dividend every year for at least 5 straight years and the stock is making new 52-week highs, like shit, something must be going right. How bad, right? So it's a great pond to go fishing in is really how we look at it.
I retract my statement as far as hoping so. I guess I was thinking more about 2 to 100 than the young aristocrats. But so yes, that is surprising that NVIDIA was on here.
And we said that. We said that when it popped up here a couple of years ago when it first popped up. It's like, wow, NVIDIA's raised their dividends that many years in a row. It literally graduated, so it's not on the list anymore. We're going to create a senior aristocrat where it's going to be like the ones who graduated for the young aristocrats, and it's going to be between 10 and 20 years because there are opportunities there that we can focus on a little bit more. So, listen, we're always trying to improve our process and build upon things that are working. This has been one of the greatest scans that we've ever come up with ever. Technically, we didn't invent it. We just kind of gave it our own little twist. But we're going to build on top of that and do a senior aristocrat. Are you listening, Fonz? You listening out there, Fonz? 10 to 20 years. Senior aristocrats. You like that name?
Yes, I do. Well, if you've got young and you can't, old is no fun. So
Josh Brown calls it the Lil aristocrats.
That's good. That's good. Hey,
if they were rappers.
Chat, what's going on with Soundhound today? SOUN. Why is it up 25% on heavy volume? Is this just another follow through from the other week when they had the 13F from NVIDIA that wasn't even new news? So I don't know. I haven't found a reason. Again, I thought there has to be a reason, but generally speaking, when stocks go up 25% in the first 15 minutes of the day, there's a reason. So if anyone knows, holler at me. I'm very curious.
Don't know. Don't care.
I know. Well, I know it's small potato.
Everybody's
stock.
talking to me about the Sound Hound. I feel like this name is always like people talking to me about it. I don't care. Should I care? You think I should care?
Big people care about big moves. 25% moves are interesting. Like
So it's called Sound what? Give it to me again. Sound Hound. SOUN.
Soundhound AI. Let's say the full name. Soundhound
Of course.
AI. Those
Oh,
last
I
two-
see. Because this thing went from $1 to $7.
They could
It's up,
be
it's up
involved
30%
with
this morning.
new collaborator. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, this is NVIDIA invested in them years ago to redisclose that last week, right? In their 13F. So anyway.
Like they reminded people, by the way, we bought a ton of this.
Well, they had to. It wasn't like they chose to. They had to because of the
Got it.
13F rules. It's the whole thing. I don't want to.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Elsewhere on my radar, Unity down 10% on their report.
Hold on. Can you hold on?
Yeah.
We're just moving right along here. Can you throw up the Martin Marietta just to give an example of a young aristocrat?
Yeah.
So this is a building materials company. Building materials just have been a monster, and a lot of these building material stocks are not even materials. They're industrials. Is MLM an industrial or is it a materials company? It's actually a basic materials company. But a lot of these like building equipment companies and stuff like that are not even material stocks or industrials. In this case, it is a material. So this one has raised their dividends every year for 8 straight years, setting up for maybe another leg higher. So on the radar, just a great example. There's a lot of them. It's a great list, guys. Great list. We should do like an event where we talk about the young aristocrats and what it means to us, especially Strazza. Strazza loves all this stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll do a me and Strazza show just about
you guys
the
do
young
so many good scans that we don't talk about nearly as much as we should.
True. It's true.
The young aristocrats.
Let's change that.
2 to 100. I mean, the hot corner we thought that's a scan. We talk about
The
that.
minor leaguers where we're looking at all the small cap stocks. You know what I love about small cap stocks is that a lot of them don't care if the market is ripping or not. Even if the market is ripping, some of these small caps can get destroyed. And even if the overall market is doing poorly, some of these small caps can do really well. You know, the correlation from stock to stock with the overall market is much less so than you'll find in a large cap stock, for example.
I do have a list of the where's
lists?
No. I have the page, or I thought I had the page for the young aristocrats. I guess I don't think I do.
What page? Page
someone
for what?
asked, like a landing page, like on the blog. But someone asked in the chat. We'll get you a link to if you want to get access to this.
Yeah,
stuff.
premium members of All Star Charts got that yesterday.
Premium members get everything. Non-premium members can get like snippets of things. But yes, if you want to get all the scans as they're published, the best way is to join All Star Charts Premium. The link to do that is in the description on YouTube. It's allstarcharts.com/join. Okay.
You know that the US dollar index futures are down 9 out of the last 10 days?
Well, yeah, they just had so that means they've gone up. One of the right. What we were just talking about the down streak, right?
What?
Weren't we just talking about 5-6 days in a row that they went down?
The US dollar index is down 5-6 days in a row, but 9 out of 10 if you include today, because today's down a little bit. It's basically flat under that.
Yeah.
But 8 out of 9 officially, working on 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I agree with Ian Culley here. I think you buy dollars here on this weakness. I'm with Ian on this. You see that Brazilian real, man?
No. Tell me, I didn't see it.
Well, it made new lows to close the week last week, and then just monster reversal over the last couple of days. So worth keeping an eye on, because I look at the Brazilian real. I don't want to say a blue chip, but I would consider it one of the bellwethers of emerging market forex. Brazilian real, Mexican peso is another one. Obviously can't forget about the zloty, but the zloty's been hanging in there just fine as it is.
Chat was talking about biotech earlier. XBI at a very interesting spot.
That's right.
Technically and psychologically.
Yeah, right? This is a big week for biotechs. Keep an eye on that, 100%. Yeah. And remember, there's like 260 of them or something like that in the Russell 2000. So if you're looking for exposure in small caps, You know, a lot of small cap index, for example, is still stuck below overhead supply, but there's individual components that are acting well, which, to my earlier point, individual small cap stocks care less about the overall market than large cap stocks, right? So even if small caps are underperforming and struggling, there are names that have been doing very, very well, obviously.
JC One Hole is asking for you if you can just tweet out some of your favorite spots to hit in Japan. He's going soon, and
Just go to Kyoto and then don't come back. Just stay there. First time I went to Kyoto, I swear to God, first time I went to Kyoto, we had just gotten there. And it wasn't my first time, and it was like maybe my third trip to Japan. Hadn't been to Kyoto. Literally the day I got there, we were going to be there for 4 or 5 days. The night we got there, I'm already telling my wife, we got to stay here longer. 4 or 5 days is not enough. Kyoto is such an amazing place. It makes me so happy. Oh, what a great place. What a great, fantastic.
One Hole, go to Kyoto and don't come back. Those are
stay there. You're good. You're good. You want to eat well? Just stay there. You're good. You don't need to come back here. You're fine.
Stay forever. All right. That's pretty much it for my list. Do you want to just do recess and get out of here a little early? No Patrick today.
Yeah, let's
Patrick
do it.
is flying. Patrick is on an airplane right now, so he can't hang out. So let's just do.
So I hit the bumper and put up slide 5 here.
All right. What is this? Oh, this is the thing.
This is it. So this is the my Patriots supply. My Patriots supply, the trusted source for self-reliance.
I'm sorry. But there's no way that is how the food looks. No way.
Zero chance. But still, 3-month emergency food supply, over 2,000 calories per day, 22 varieties, up to 25 years of shelf life, tasty breakfast, allegedly, tasty breakfast, lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks, resealable heavy-duty 4-layer pouches with oxygen absorbers, 120 pounds of food, no MSG added.
Because in the apocalypse, that matters.
Right. During the zombie apocalypse, I'm really going to worry about my MSG, MSG consumption, right? What do you think? You think 3 months calories equals energy equals survival? How about that for marketing?
I think
show these people the website. I dropped the link in the Slack. Show these people the website.
All right. I do think you should buy it. Mostly because I'm curious and I myself don't want to buy it.
My neighbor has it. I think I'm gonna go to his house and check it out.
All right,
but at first I thought, like, I was like cracking up. I was like, dude, you're such a doomer. Like, you really bought that? And like, you know, I'm talking with my neighbors and we're like talking about like if there's a zombie apocalypse or like we're getting invaded by, you know, aliens or something like that. Like, where are we gonna go? And like, I live in a neighborhood of like 75 houses and it's all young families and like young dudes that I've been partying with a little lately. So we started talking about like, what are we going to do? Like, whose house? We got a guy who was in the military and he's got all kinds of like, you know, stuff that'll be come in handy if we're getting invaded. So I think we're all going to go to his house.
Great. Speaking of military,
that was our conclusion. We're definitely not coming to mine. I can't help you. I'm useless when it comes to.
How's the what? Would you have a gopher? What was it?
Oh my God, dude. The raccoon, my raccoon problem.
The raccoon.
Dude, I got the thing. It's like a powder kind of thing, and you kind of like sprinkle it around, and it's not dangerous for the kids. And you know, I locked up my, you know, I had some bungee cords. Dude, let me tell you something. As a father, bungee cords come in handy way more often than I ever would have thought.
Yes, growing up, we had a seemingly unlimited supply of bungee cords in the garage.
I didn't, by the way. My family definitely did not have that, but I do now. And man, they're just constantly coming in handy. Who knew?
Doubt.
Bungee cords.
No doubt.
Bungee cords and 3 months of food supply. That's what you'll find in my house.
Bungee cords might be the most dad thing that you own. That's great. That's great.
Dude, I've been dadding like so hard over the last couple of years. Like hard, dude. I got my Thule. I got the freaking Denali, you know, to go anywhere. Like, I'm just dadding so hard these days. It's crazy. Wow.
Great. Proud of you.
I'm into it.
Yeah. All right. I don't have any recess. My life for the last few days, weeks has been extremely uninteresting. So I have nothing really to share about anything. But JC, I'll see you later.
Are you coming out? Are you coming over?
I'm coming over. You
All right.
You asked me to come over. I'm going to come over.
No, I know. Come on down. Come on down.
I hope you forget. I'm going to show up anyway. But we will be doing chart request 5 o'clock today. Oh no, I don't know if Pat will be around. Okay, maybe chart request live at 1 o'clock today. I'll let you guys know. Either way, we do it or we don't. And then Twitter Spaces with Pat is also a question because Pat is flying, as I said. So unlikely on the Spaces and maybe on the chart. Everyone's traveling. Steve is out. Patrick is traveling. Busy week for us. I'm not sure what that's about. Anyway, thank you to our guest, Mike Hurley. We always love having Mike on the show. We should get him on more often. By the way, any requests, any guests that you want us to have on the show, you can tweet at us, right? You can
get Eli Manning? Dude, Eli Manning was in Josh and Batnick's podcast yesterday. What was that all about?
I saw that.
I was texting him that. I was texting both of them last night, and I was like, dude, how sick is that? Josh is like, Batnick was in tears. Batnick was literally...
I mean, I'm not like a Giants fan, so it wouldn't be like as cool for me, but obviously I grew up watching the guys, so it would be
dude, how cool is that?
You know what I've always wanted to say to Eli Manning? I've always, if I meet him, what I'm going to say is, man, I loved you on the Chargers. That's what I'm going to say. If I ever meet Eli Manning. Okay, fine, whatever. Hey, if you have any guest requests, tweet at us, send us an email. Those are our social places. Follow us there. And I do take guest requests, and we do try to get a variety of people.
Dennis Dick, get Dennis Dick on here. Come on.
I'm trying.
It's about time Dennis Dick came on a good show, right? Come on.
The timing is hard with his trading and our show, and
figure it out. Aren't you guys in cahoots? You guys are in cahoots.
Cahoots, yeah. All right. That's it. Thanks a lot, everyone. Go make some money. We'll see you later.
Adios.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it